Hello and welcome back. So the first thing I want to do is a bit of review. So we made this turret in the last episode, and to move around in the scene you can middle click the mouse wheel and drag. You can zoom in with the mouse wheel, and you can also hit the right mouse button to rotate. So now if we look at this turret, you can see we have some different components on here. We have a transform component that gives it position, rotation, and scale. Then we also have a cube mesh filter. And basically what that does is this corner right here would be one vertex, this would be a vertex, this is a vertex, and now the mesh filter, it just contains all of that data. It's all the position of the vertices and all the the normal directions and all of the data that's contained in this object. And now the mesh renderer takes that data and it puts it on the screen. So we have the material. We can add light probes. We can tell it whether or not we want it to cast shadows. So these two work hand in hand to render the object. Next we have an animator that's not being used, so I'm just going to click on this cog and remove component. So now I want to take this and just kind of move it out of the way a little bit. And I want to make it point toward this cube. So how do we do that? Well, the way that makes the most sense to me would be to create a script. So I'm going to create a script called basic targeting. And again, to do that, you just go into your scripts folder, right click, create C# script. Now, once that compiles, I'm going to drag that onto my turret. And you can see it here. And now I'm just going to double click to open that up. And I don't like the formatting by default, so I'm just going to fix it. And now we have a transform component. If we look at the Unity documentation, you'll see that the transform comes with a lot of built-in functionality. By default, obviously it contains position, rotation, and scale, but it also has functions that can do a lot of work for us. Like we can attach and detach child objects, we can look at things, we can move, or we can slide toward things. So what we're going to use is this look at function right here. And basically all you have to do to look at something is just type transform.lookat and pass in the target. So the first thing we want to do is get a reference to the target. So we're going to have a public variable of type transform called enemy, or I'll just call it target actually. And then we're going to say transform.lookat target. Easy enough. And now I guarantee you this code is going to work, but there's something else wrong with our scene that's going to prevent us from getting the functionality that we want. So I'm going to hit play and you'll see what happens. Now, it's not doing anything, and that's because we haven't actually assigned the enemy yet. So I'm going to click on this enemy and just drag it over to target. Now I'll hit play again, and you'll notice that this is rotating toward the cube, but not in the way we would expect. It's facing directly down into the ground, and then the bottom is rotating toward the cube. Now, why did that happen? Well, if you look at the transform, you'll notice it has a rotation of minus 90 degrees. We built it facing horizontally in Blender, we imported it to Unity, and now if we get rid of the rotation, it's facing straight down. And it thinks that this is the forward direction. Well, the reason that happened, and this has caused me countless hours of frustration, the reason it happened is because in Unity, the y-axis is up and down, whereas in Blender, the y-axis is forward and backward. And so to account for that, Unity tried to rotate it by minus 90 degrees. But controlling this through code is really hard now because just the rotation is just completely messed up. It's so frustrating. So to fix that, rather than trying to handle that through code, which would just be a complete nightmare, we're going to fix it in Blender. So I'm staying in object mode for this. And I'm going to hit R, X, minus 90. And so that basically just makes it point straight up toward the sky. And so we're basically just doing that -90 rotation and applying it. So to apply that rotation, I'm going to hit Control A, apply rotation and scale. And then I'm going to hit RX90 to rotate it back. But I'm not going to apply that rotation. And I can just save this. And since we haven't applied that rotation, it's still oriented in a way that Unity can understand. So I'm just going to delete this one. And you'll see if we go to Meshes, Tower Prototype, and just drag that in, now it imported correctly. There's not any annoying rotation issues. So if we put the script back on it, basic targeting, grab the enemy, and move that out a little bit, hit play, and now you can see it's correctly targeting the enemy. So now that that's fixed, I think I'll wrap up this video here. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.